Do you want to improve how you're feeling? Great. Well, the heart of self-compassion is really about talking to yourself as if you're talking to somebody that you would love. That's all there is to it. Hi, I'm Chris, I'm a doctor. I've read this book. It's by a woman aimed at women. But really I don't mind what gender or sex you are, because there's some valuable learning. It's okay, I've read it. I'll distill it for you right away. So the author gives her credibility by saying she's a parent, by being a mother, a woman, as having been bereaved when her father died, and also overcoming an alcohol problem. She's been through challenges like many of us, and she's managed to write this book. So you need to know what's triggering you. Triggers can run deep, and they're part of human nature. And the key is to know when you're being triggered, so that then you can start acting and speaking kindly to yourself to make yourself feel good again. And by being self-compassionate and being aware of specific fears that we all have, they're all different to you as an individual, then you can be clear that a trigger's happened, perhaps a fear is there. And then what you have to do is rewire how your brain thinks. Because in essence, if you can train your brain to notice when it's being unkind to itself, and then you can actually rectify the situation. Let's say you're vulnerable, you've made a mistake, you've had an argument with somebody, and you're then often reacting. And if you can just identify that split second before you react, just taking a few moments, then you can potentially change that negative cycle and actually act in a way that you would like. After all, we're all human, so cut yourself a bit of slack and give some kindness. Now, a compassionate witness is somebody who can respond to your stories of struggle with empathy. And actually, most of our loneliness isn't from not knowing enough people. It's having not a good closeness with a few people. Now, different reactions from your friends can help, but a lot of the time they won't help. So if you've got a friend who, for example, you said, my marriage is broken up and things aren't going too well at home, you may have a few of the following people, the one-upper. OMG, that's nothing. I'm almost positive that my husband's cheating on me with his office manager. Or the poo-pooer. It's probably not that bad. I just saw you two last week. You were getting on great. Or the at least you're married. I've been single for 10 years. The fixer. Well, have you gone to counselling? Have you read this book on relationships? What about date nights? And on a passing comment, often if you've read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, they'd say that a man by default is a fixer. And they'd often come out with that, they'd gasp, what? I thought your marriage was perfect. You have to make this work, and then perhaps even bursting out into tears. And then other people who, surprisingly, they'd say, I'm going to make this about me, blah, blah, blah. But most of these people, they're then too focused upon their own lives to actually give some compassionate, friendly support, perhaps when you need it the most. But realize that not all friendships are going to give that. It's good to have friends for different things. And, even if you've got somebody who is giving you compassionate support when you need that, and obviously it's a process, you have to give that back to them, be aware that it's really something that can happen over time. You have to build up trust, and it can't be forced or sped up. And often you'll find there's harder things in life, things that we push down or run away from, but potentially they are actually the key to healing and also to joy. Because in essence, we may want to numb ourselves away from not wanting to feel certain ways. And for emotional pain, it's rare that you'd ever see a person who walks in saying, come on, I'm ready to take it all, I'm looking for emotional pain. But if you realize when you're actually numbing yourself, that can help. And numbing is often done on the smartphone, or it's just things that comfort ourselves, where we chuck self-control out the window and perhaps just going to dissociate with what we're doing. So it could be doom scrolling on Facebook, which is often mind-numbing, or just using a lot of time on social media. And really choose that time wisely. Obviously, the best thing you could possibly do with the internet is to watch this video. So well done. Give yourself a pat on the back. But anyway, comparisons. These are often bad because basically you're comparing yourself to somebody else who's different from what you are. And often you're comparing yourself with something that's completely inaccurate. And rather than putting a comparison there, think more about collaborating so that you and the person that you're comparing yourself can both win together. And what you'll find is that some people, if they miss a trigger and they can't change their mindset, they'll maybe feel inadequate around people. And you can't really, once a trigger's set in, unfollow it. But you can think then afterwards, what made me trigger? And often, if you think about that, putting in comparisons, it's often social media, because you'll see somebody else's YouTube channel. Wow, they've got thousands upon thousands of views and subscribers. What's mine doing? Well, I don't really mind, but I'm pleased you're watching it. So when you're making these comparisons, you still will. It's important not to try and turn your thoughts around by saying, actually, I'm brilliant, I'm the best. Instead, just realize that that's happening and think, how can I deliberately change my thought process here? Now, there's different types of people. That's what makes the world great after all. But you've got what this book breaks down to as people pleasers and approval seekers. And they tend not to set boundaries, and they may be fearful that they'll be described as kind of bitchy, yeah? So what these people need in their life is perhaps to set a boundary, to know that they're important. And if that you can set boundaries with relationships, then it actually could boost your self-confidence a bit. And it's important and also necessary to honor yourself and try and secure your own happiness. People are afraid of a lot of things, making mistakes, people judging you, judging your body, thinking you're stupid, not qualified, your partner leaving you because you aren't super awesome at everything and you've got issues. People judging your parenting styles, being unsuccessful, and generally a failure. There's always something that you can be afraid of. But really, this is in a way relating to perfectionism. I've done a video before about perfectionism. You may want to watch that. That's just my thoughts on it. Because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. However, one has to ask themselves the hard questions. Can you pinpoint where your perfectionism actually came from? Just re-examine the origins of those stories that you've told yourself. When were these beliefs actually created? And can you deal with criticism in a more intentional way? What stories do you actually make up in your head about yourself when you receive criticism? Often we crucify ourselves, which isn't what we want to do. What you need to do is give yourself permission that you will actually ask for help and not set overly high expectations. And what is perfectionism actually costing you? So, catastrophizers, well, these are other types of people, and they rehearse this kind of tragedy and feeling so uncomfortable that things aren't going to go their way, and it's easy to say, well, chill out, relax. Awesome stuff can happen. And then most of the time, if somebody's catastrophizing, it doesn't help anyone or the people around them. Imposter syndrome's mentioned a lot. This is basically when you're feeling a fraud, that you're not qualified enough and that you don't deserve a seat at a table. And I think that it's something that perhaps many of us have, but just building your self-confidence and being aware that you do deserve that seat at the table is the way to overcome imposter syndrome. And it's also important to practice joy and gratitude. Why not? So, for example, if you're at work, you're busy, you may think, I don't have enough time at work, this is rubbish, I can't control this, more and more is just piling up, and the workload's so big, what will I do? Now, I feel like that many times, but equally, one should try and take a step back and not complain. Instead, realize that we live in scarcity, life's short, so actually focus on how awesome life is, and also focus on what you can control. If you're not going to leave your job that you're complaining about the workload, it just lowers your morale and other people's morale complaining about it. So do something about it. But equally, if you then think, well, I'll stay in that job that's busy, then you may as well look on the bright side, because we want you to be good to yourself and enjoy your life. Now, overachieving, that's like perfectionism, but it's a kind of slightly different thing, because this is people who think, I am my achievements, I am how many qualifications I've got, or the score on the last science test or whatever, and they try and reach many goals and be productive as possible, often trying to escape criticism from other people, because if they've done so well, nobody's going to judge them or react to them and think less of them. So they think that achievement is actually safety and love. But when you're overachieving, you're potentially looking at negative things, you're avoiding looking at some of the negative things in your life that could do with attention. Because if you race through life, potentially there's no prize. I like this phrase, we're human beings, we're not human doings. So try and just all slow down, focus on your well-being, connect with the people that you want to connect with the most. This can make you as an individual happier and more fulfilled, because knowing what's important to you and why, as well as what your values are and what actions you need to take to help you with your values and achieve your goals, allowing you to feel proud about how you're behaving is fundamentally important. So we'll end on this. You are awesome. You're awesome with or without your achievements. You, just you, without all your triumphs, are still magnificent. We are all individuals, and a sincere thanks for getting into the end of this YouTube video. That means that you are definitely awesome. I'll see you next time.